Well, let me welcome each of you here today to Mount Calvary Baptist Church and the cemetery. It's an honor to have each of you here, and we hope that you have enjoyed the day thus far. Great. At this time, I'm going to welcome and recognize a group of people, and you will be meeting and hearing from some of them later on during the ceremony. Leanne Wolford is with the Alabama Historic Commission.
Stand up, Leanne.
Leanne. And listen, if it was not for Leanne approving all of this hard work that Alan and Norma Jean and Glenn had done, we wouldn't be here today. So we need to really give her a big hand of appreciation. And then her right-hand person is Shanda Davidson. Shanda, would you please stand? And Shanda is updating the registry of the Alabama historic sites here in Shelby County. And so I hope you made some of the inside of the church. I did too, just in case. So,
I can get that later.
but we're sharing photographs. Sandy's been helping go around and make pictures of the historic sites that's here in Shelby County. Can't pass up Glenn Nibbins. If it wasn't for Glenn's our right-hand man. Glenn is the recording secretary of the Shelby County Historical Society, and he's also the assistant to the Alabama Cemetery Preservation Alliance. Glenn does all the footwork, all the paperwork, and all the leading of all these churches and cemeteries that have done their records to present to Leanne. Glenn, please stand and let's give Glenn. And now, the lady that keeps us all in line is Rachel Clinkscale. Rachel's the secretary with the Alabama Cemetery Preservation Alliance, and she also collects our dues. I just happen to be the representative for Shelby County of the Alabama Cemetery Preservation Alliance, as well as president of the Shelby County Historical Society. And Rachel is very involved with we call it the Hysterical Society. Rachel is very involved with the Hysterical Society and does a wonderful job in sending out reminders to all of us to pay our dues, because just like the Shelby County Historical Society, the Alabama Cemetery Preservation Alliance, which is a nonprofit organization, 501c3, they thrive off of membership dues as well. So they've got their own website. You can go to Shelby County's website and click over to theirs. But I'm sure Rachel would appreciate you joining, right, Rachel? What I'm going to do is something a little bit different now. You'll hear of this person's name again, and you'll hear of another name that Glenn's going to talk about in a few minutes, but I'm going to talk about George Moore. George Moore was born about 1827 in South Carolina, and he died in 1863 while serving in the Civil War in Dallas County. If you come to the Shelby County Museum and Archives, you'll see a $20 Confederate bill that was sent by the Moore family to the people in Dallas County, in Selma, to have George's body returned back to Shelby County to be buried. Well, it didn't happen. They returned the money. The money was with a letter, and we have the money on display in the museum at the Shelby County Museum and Archives, which is the old courthouse in Columbiana. But anyway, his parents was Farmer and Elizabeth, or better known as Betsy Moore. And I would bet you a wooden nickel that old Betsy is buried out there without a grave marker. And I'm going to tell you how I know when she died in 1850. So she actually died before this church started, and I believe this is how George Moore got involved in it. Well, I believe George's wife, Amelia, who happened to have been a Seals, and in her obituary, it stated that she was a lifelong member of the Baptist Church, and she died May the 3rd, 1892. It didn't say what Baptist church. 1856. And it just happened that Amelia's father was Abraham Seals. I bet you another wooden nickel. Abraham Seals and his wife Clarissa is buried out there in an unmarked grave. Well, Farmer had 3 children that he had more than 3, but he had 3 children that married brothers and sisters. They had Blanton Moore that married Martha Seals. Those Moores and Seals loved each other. They had George Moore that married Amelia Seals. And then they had Susan Moore that married Joshua Seals. Now Susan and Joshua worked in the coal mines, and he and Susan are buried up in Walker County. And I happen to have searched for that cemetery and finally walked up on upon their grave marker, and they do have markers in the cemetery there in Walker County. Well, it just so happened that Abraham also had a son named John Robert that married Julia A. Minor. And the Minor family didn't come to Shelby County from South Carolina until after 1850. Well, after John Robert Seals died in the Civil War, Julia married Albert Kindred. Now am I knocking home, Shelby? That's where the Kindreds comes in. On top of all of that, Nancy Moore was also a daughter of Farmer and Elizabeth Moore. Her first husband was Thomas Bridges, who died in 1850. And then she married James S. Music, who died in 1865. And I bet you some more wooden nickels, they're buried up there in one of those unmarked graves. And I don't have one wooden nickel. So anyway, just to show you how all of these families lived right around here. And then Nancy Moore and Thomas Bridges had 3 daughters that married the same man, Stephen Harmon Seals. Well, Elizabeth, his first wife, is buried up here with a grave marker. So I'm not going to bet you on that one. But the other 2, along with Stephen Harmon, is buried down in Summer Hill Cemetery, which is just below the old courthouse on Highway 25 between Columbiana and Calera. Well, on top of all of that, Mahalie Thomas, who is buried up here, was a Seals, and she was a sister to Elizabeth Seals Mooney, who was the wife of Calvin Lee Mooney. Now, this is the part I want to get to, and this is why I did all of this. You know, we recognize today's veterans, the one that's died in Iraq and Afghanistan. And World War I, World War II, and on. But I want to read one of the three obituaries, one of the three obituaries that appeared in one of the Shelby County newspapers when Calvin Lee Mooney died. And it was dated the newspaper was dated November the 22nd, 1906. Died at his home near Mount Calvary Church in Shelby County, Alabama, on the 15th of November, 1906, Calvin Mooney. He was one of Shelby's best known and highly esteemed citizens. He was a member of the 29th Alabama Regiment, Company E. At the long to be remembered by those who wore the gray battle at Franklin, Tennessee, his color bearer was shot down. He seized the battle flag from his dead comrade's hand and bore it aloft until his own strong arm was shattered, and not until he fell bleeding did he let it fall. I think we need to give Calvin Lee Mooney a hand. I want to thank you for allowing me to be the Master of Ceremonies today. And at this time, we'll have the presentation of colors by the Chelsea Cub Pack 617. And then after that, Mr. Jeff Arney will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will you please stand for presentation of colors? Color guard, advance.